But I don't want to get caught in semantics.
Essentially, the impeachment inquiry has already begun.
So it's a bit technical inside baseball, maybe.
We're holding hearings for the purpose of investigating the possibility of voting articles of impeachment against the president.
For anyone that was confused, we are in the midst of an investigation.
People can call this whatever they want to call it.
Really? Okay, so is it impeachment or not? If you're confused at home, welcome to the club. Democrats in the House have been asked for weeks exactly what they're doing without much clarity emerging. And while most of them insist that something's happening, an investigation, inching toward impeachment, Nixon-like authorities, whatever you want to call it, their answers on impeachment have run the gamut, as you saw there, from non-committal to words don't matter to completely contradictory. So after the House Judiciary Committee today voted along party lines to give itself more tools for something by outlining the rules and scope of its investigation, Chairman Nadler sought to set things straight.
We will begin next week an aggressive series of hearings investigating allegations of corruption, obstruction, and abuse of power against the president. Some call this process an impeachment inquiry. Some call it an impeachment investigation. There is no legal difference between these terms, and I no longer care to argue about nomenclature.
So it's our fault that we're arguing about the words. Watch this. Short time later, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who's at times contradicted Nadler on the question of impeachment, was pointed in her response to questions about our confusion.
Legislate, investigate, litigate. That's the path we have been on, and that's the path we continue to be on.
If I may, is this specific language not important? I mean, how should the American people understand
the American people
understand when members are speaking very differently about it?
It's not. You're the only ones who are sowing this.
That's not true, ma'am.
It isn't true. I travel the entire country. Come with me sometime, and you'll hear what the American people are saying. They understand that impeachment is a very divisive measure. But if we have to go there, we'll have to go there. But we can't go there unless we have the facts, and we will follow the facts, and we will follow the obstruction that the president is making of us getting the facts and make our decision when we're ready. That's the only question. That's all I'm going to say about this subject.
Okay. We're excited to welcome back to our table my colleague and friend, Katy Tur. Plus, adding to the conversation, Capitol Hill senior writer for Politico, Jake Sherman. Jake, let me start with you. So I'm reluctant to say this, but she's wrong. I'm a Republican, and the question I get asked by the most people who I worked with, either in a Republican White House, on Republican campaigns, or in the dog park or at drop-off, is why the bleep aren't they impeaching Donald Trump for crimes found that he committed in the Southern District of New York and the 10 acts of criminal obstruction of justice that Robert Mueller handed them in a bound report?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. So let's start from the top. Nadler is making a technical argument here, right? They are not currently, or he's saying they are investigating whether they should impeach the president. That is true. Now, he is balancing that by saying some call it impeachment. The reason he's doing that, it would seem to me, is because almost his entire committee wants to impeach the president and is out saying they want to impeach the president. Now, what Pelosi is saying is we're investigating, we'll see where it leads us. Not different than what Nadler is saying, but she does not, and we talked about this, Nicole, the other day, she does not want to impeach the president, period. She's made that incredibly clear. She thinks it's bad politics. Her aides say it, her advisors say it, and her allies say it. But what's going on here, and why you put up our headline, the impeachment dumpster fire, because Democrats are saying 500 different things about impeachment. No one knows what they're doing. No one could explain what stage in the process they are, or at what time they might start considering actual impeachment articles, if ever. So given that set of circumstances that no one knows what's going on, it's allowed this vacuum to exist. And this happens in the Capitol sometimes. People feel like they're making the right argument because it is technically true. Technically true doesn't matter. People on Capitol Hill live in a different world than the rest of the country, where people are saying either you shouldn't impeach him or you should stop being in the middle. So we're caught in this vortex. We're caught in this maze, so to speak, and we don't know how we're going to get out of it.
It seems clear on one level. Nancy Pelosi decided a long time ago she would not, she could not, under no circumstances would she permit anybody else House under her iron fist to commence impeachment proceeding against Donald Trump. And her excuse is that it's politically unpopular, but perhaps it's politically unpopular because she says every time she's before a microphone that impeachment is unpopular.
Well, exactly. That's a chicken and egg thing. And look, I don't think the Democrats can do themselves a huge amount of political damage with all this mess, but they're trying. They're doing their best because look, either do it or don't do it, right? And
you know, when I was a Republican, you know what I would say to that, which I know I am. That's why you people lose elections. I mean, you're right. You're right. It's like they're trying to take something that wasn't doing them any harm and harm themselves.
Yeah. So Pelosi doesn't want to do it. So don't do it. But Nadler says we're going to investigate, and we're going to investigate corruption. Okay, the president is enriching himself with money from the Defense Department, with the crews that are staying over in his failing Turnberry, in his failing Scottish golf resort. That should never happen. The president of the United States should never profit from the Defense Department, of which he is commander-in-chief. That's an outrage. That's corruption. You got your corruption. They're going to investigate obstruction. Well, the Mueller report, just cut and paste. That takes 5 minutes. They're going to investigate abuse of power. Look at his immigration policy. He defies the courts. He defies Congress. He does all sorts of rogue, illegal things. That's abuse of power. You've got it there. You and I could sit around for an hour. We could come up with the articles of impeachment if they want to do it. But they don't want to do it, or Pelosi won't let them do it.
You were there. What I don't understand is Congress's Inspector Clouseau. I mean, you've got more credible, more competent investigators that have already investigated.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to a senior Democratic aide yesterday while I was on the Hill, and I asked this person why there is so much confusion, what's really going on, and they told me two things. One, there is concern about the frontline Democrats, the ones who just eked out a win in the 2018 election from Trump districts or districts that Hillary Clinton barely won. They're worried about their reelection prospects in 2020. And number two, there is a feeling that Robert Mueller didn't do them any favors when he was testifying on the Hill. That the fact that he did not come out and say that Donald Trump committed a crime took a bit of the wind out of the sails for Democrats. So that's why you're seeing this disunion over the issue of impeachment. But I'm with you. I wonder what message it sends to American voters when they're looking at who they want to put in power. Do they want Republicans who seem to always be on the same page about everything, regardless of what you think about the president, or Democrats who are fighting?
I mean, this is where Republicans, and they are ruthless. They wouldn't have waited for Bob Mueller to say they would have said crimes were committed by the Southern District of New York and in Robert Mueller's and let Rudy Giuliani go out there and explain that they weren't. I mean, there is a lack of ruthlessness that explains. And let me just ask you this: if Donald Trump's reelected, do you think Nancy Pelosi will regret her campaign against impeachment?
Yes. And first of all, if impeachment isn't for this president, then why is it in the Constitution?
Exactly.
Right. If not him, then who?
Michael Cohen testified in front of the Democratic House about a crime that the president of the United States committed in the campaign finance violation, the payment to Stormy Daniels. We know he obstructed justice. We know all these things. They could have impeached him by now, right? And instead, we've had this dance back and forth. And being caught in the middle is the worst place to be in politics, Nicole. And the other thing I'd say is, where's just the oversight in general? I mean, we've got Donald Trump changing the direction of hurricanes with a Sharpie, right? We've got mass corruption in terms of the money flowing into his properties, right? We've got a State Department official trying to buy an Iranian oil tanker with cash in an email every day.
Brian Hook, who's now a candidate to be the National Security Advisor, tried to buy a tanker.
And the Republicans investigated me more aggressively for 4 years in the second Obama administration than I've seen the Democrats going after Trump.
So
on
why
this.
is there not that desire to get them?
Part of that is you have to choose something, right? You have to say, here's how we're going after this person. Here's what the overarching narrative is, right? And it's staring them in the face. It is corruption. Because all of these things connect to corruption. The Stormy Daniels payment, that's corrupt. That was a campaign finance violation. Just like the efforts to enrich himself are corruption. Just like you've got multiple cabinet officials who've had to resign for corruption scandals. You can tie all this together into a coherent argument that you prosecute against Trump. But you have to be aggressive, and you have to draw attention. You know, if there's a big hearing, the press will cover it, you know, but they keep seeming to wait for something else to happen, you know, just like they waited for Mueller to come in to save them.
Jake, let me ask you about how political this all has been from its inception. I mean, does anyone feel like that's working against them? I mean, Pelosi has made no secret about what Katie's talking about, that the politics of this, in her view, didn't work. Well, the way Republicans might deal with that would be to change the politics. She made no effort to change the politics around oversight, accountability, or impeachment.
And it's interesting because she won, if you listen to her and if you were on the campaign trail last cycle, she won this election. And one of the things that she kept saying is, we need to kind of clear out this corruption and clear out, not the swamp, so to speak, but clear out how business is being done in Washington. And one way to continue that narrative in this cycle, in these 2 years, is to say the president is spending money at his hotels. I mean, all the things that you guys just mentioned. And the politics, you take it a step further. They have not decided what to investigate. And as Ben will remember quite well, I mean, Darrell Issa was throwing out subpoenas, not giving them a month, saying you need to get this to me by the end of the week or next week. They didn't have 5 committees investigating in John Boehner's House of Representatives. They had 1 or 2. This Congress has 3 committees investigating, lots of chairmen, lots of people who want the limelight, and a speaker who still does not want to impeach. So those are the dynamics that are driving this process at the moment.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.